It has been 30 hours since this tragedy where a shooter killed 8 people, and law enforcement officials still have not held a single press conference where we've been able to ask questions. DPS is in charge of this investigation, but frankly, most of the information that we're learning is coming either from sources or speaking to the witnesses here who lived it.
We got shots fired at the outlet hall. I got people running.
On a sunny Saturday afternoon,
this is the world that we live in right now.
The world we live in changed again.
Saw him bouncing off the bricks outside.
It's going on for like 5 minutes. The gunshot's going on for like 5 minutes, bro. 5 minutes straight.
Aaron Fleming was one of thousands at the Allen Premium Outlets when the shooting started.
He pretty much was walking down the sidewalk and he was just like blazing for the most part and just shooting his gun.
Officers say 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia shot and killed 8 people within moments. 7 others are hurt, between 5 and 61 years old. 3 still in critical care.
Is it ever going to stop? And it just kept on shooting, and finally the shots stopped.
Police say an armed officer at the mall chased down and killed the shooter. His motive is still unknown.
Dad, I just wanted to let you know I was okay.
As officers cleared stores, people poured out, walking with hands up, meeting families with arms open.
This was carnage like you see in a war zone.
Stephen Spainhour was one of the first to try to help.
Went to the first victim, who was crouched down in the bushes covering her head. Felt for a pulse, didn't feel one, turned her head, and she had no face.
He pulled out a young boy from under his mother who kept saying that she'd been hurt.
Yesterday I was heartbroken. Today I'm mad.
I was scared because I didn't want anything to happen to me.
10-year-old Diana Flores and her family came back Sunday because, like hundreds, their car was stuck inside a crime scene.
It was really scary because it was our first time.
But Saturday was far from a first.
I had nightmares about it as well.
Going to school or going shopping have gone from daily tasks to daily risks.
It's just not fair. Not fair for anyone.
But on a sunny Saturday afternoon,
It's just sad.
it happened again. In Allen, I'm William Joy. Hey Jimmy, William Joy, WFAA. Been trying to schedule an interview with you to talk about your use of the district's plane. Granbury ISD is a district of 7,500 students an hour southwest of Fort Worth.
Granbury traffic, Cessna 2464 Yankee is departing runway 14.
It's the only Texas school district we could find that has its own private plane. Assistant Superintendent Jimmy Dawson helped organize the district's purchase of a Cessna Skyhawk last year. The goal was getting students interested in aviation and teaching them to fly. But WFAA discovered Dawson used the district's plane to take a family trip.
Granbury traffic, Cessna 2.
We tried to schedule an interview with him to find out why. He said he was busy and then stopped responding. So we went to get answers. How often have you used the district's plane for personal trips?
Well, I don't use it for personal trips.
But WFAA obtained flight records that suggest a different story. In June, the district's plane flew 250 miles on a round trip to Abilene. Then came this photo days later. Dawson's daughter posted on Facebook thanking him and her mother, also a Granbury administrator, for flying out to Abilene for lunch for her birthday. The district's plane is clearly visible. After we asked Dawson about it, it was deleted. Did you fly to Abilene with your wife to visit your daughter?
I have, and what I do is I have to get required time, and so FAA requires required time.
The FAA requires 3 flights of any time or distance in 90 days to keep a pilot's license active or current. But that doesn't explain why Dawson was using the district's plane to do that. He doesn't teach students to fly, according to the district. In fact, according to the FAA, he doesn't have the proper certification to teach. The district says Dawson takes students on demo flights and, quote, "It is important to our district that anyone who flies in our airplane does so regularly." But since January 1st this year, the district says he's flown with students just 3 times.
Cessna 2464 Yankee is on.
During
right
those 10
now.
months, he also flew the plane by himself 3 times, but the district wouldn't share where those flights were to or what they were for. You know, we tried to email you and schedule an interview.
Right. So I get to fly out of the plane because I'm a private pilot.
We are here to be transparent to the public, to serve these students,
Dr. Watt L. Black Jr. is an education leadership and ethics professor at SMU and compares Dawson's flight to a bus driver using a district school bus for a family trip.
I don't recall having seen cases ever where district employees would take a bus or a van or a Suburban and load their family up and take them on a family vacation. It wouldn't be appropriate, right? That's not why the taxpayers fund those purchases.
Who's approving this, right? Like, is the superintendent, the board, they know you're taking these flights?
Yes, we've all gone
so
through
they know
the
you're
training.
taking these personal trips?
No, they're not personal trips. They're
Well,
trips
what would
to
you
stay
call it?
current. They're
So-
trips to stay current.
Right. Well, any trip is a trip to stay current.
The trips he takes come with a cost. Records show the month of June, when Dawson took the trip to Abilene with his wife, the district spent around $2,000 on fuel for the plane. Dawson's flight to Abilene was one of the longest that month, according to flight records.
Did you reimburse them for the fuel?
So I paid for the fuel, and I've paid for fuel before, yes.
Right, so
yes.
you paid for fuel for that trip because the district's receipts didn't show any sort of reimbursement for that.
Well, because I pay for it on my credit card.
You pay for it on your credit
Yes,
card when you go for
absolutely.
the back and forth
But
trips.
the
Gotcha.
district says Dawson had not paid for fuel for the Abilene trip. Instead, they say he, quote, recognized the optics of choosing Abilene as a location for keeping his certification current and decided to make a donation. That $200 donation was made 2 days after we spoke to Dawson and 3 months after the flight. The district's personnel policy is clear. Educators shall not intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly use property or equipment for personal gain or advantage.
District property is intended for a particular public use, right? It's intended to benefit the students.
In Granbury, I'm William Joy.
I love this street.
Jalen Ford's job is advertising. But his fame is for his dancing.
This is my hobby, but now I get paid for doing it.
His stage is the corner of Cooper and Pleasant Ridge Road in Arlington.
You know, ain't no days off. You know, I do this every day, the cold, rain, hot.
Jalen has autism, and his family says the rhythm and routine click with him, so the performances are on year 3.
Then I just started, and then after that, it just became a thing, you know?
But this local celebrity is also a fan.
Right now, I am listening to Taylor Swift.
When Swift announced a stop in Arlington, the community raised $3,000 on GoFundMe for tickets.
I got enough to go down, to be on the floor.
But during Sunday's concert, he went from excited to enchanted.
The security guards, they said, hey, sir, come here right now. I'm all like, am I in trouble? Did I do something?
They ushered him past a barrier and next to the stage, where Swift handed him her hat.
Yes, it's at home, protected at all costs under my blankets. Yes, I'm saving that hat with my life.
For a person whose job is really sharing happiness, you might just call it karma.
No matter what, stay happy, stay positive, keep going. A rainbow of the colors.
Jalen doesn't have any plans to stop. In Arlington, I'm William Joy. It's been 1,143 days since the home on East Allen Avenue was wrapped in crime scene tape.
And they go open the gate.
And since James Smith asked police to check on his neighbor.
They're usually home, but they never had both of the front doors open.
Aaron Dean. It's been 1,143 days
since Officer Aaron Dean killed a Tatiana Jefferson.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
Monday, the trial for the former Fort Worth police officer is set to begin.
It's just not normal for them to have both the doors open this late that long.
At 2:25 a.m., Jefferson's neighbor, James Smith, called a non-emergency line asking police to make sure his neighbor was okay.
I explained on the call that there wasn't any violence going on. It was simply a concern for my neighbor.
Officer Aaron Dean arrived at the home at 2:29. His body camera video shows the 36-year-old second-year officer first looked through the front door, then walked to the side. Inside, Jefferson was playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew, Zion. About 1 minute after first getting to the home, Dean gets to the back, never announcing his presence or that he was a police officer. court documents say Jefferson heard someone creeping in her backyard, grabbed her gun, and opened the blinds.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
The single shot Dean fired killed Jefferson.
Shots fired, sorry, supervisor.
People say, well, James, it's not your fault. You're not your fault. But I made a call. I made the call because I thought that they were going to do what I called them to do, check on my neighbor. And they didn't do that.
This is the pelvic cavity here.
Nobody looked at that video and said there's any doubt that this officer acted inappropriately.
At first, Fort Worth police shared photos of Jefferson's gun, but later called that a mistake.
The gun is irrelevant. She was in her own home, caring for an 8-year-old nephew.
Dean never gave police investigators any reason why he fired.
Had the officer not resigned, I would have fired him for violations of several policies, including our use of force policy.
2 days after the killing,
at approximately 6 p.m., Aaron Dean was arrested for the murder of Miss Jefferson.
She was in her own place and shot and killed her. That is not only unacceptable, that's murder.
Any words?
No comment.
Jefferson was the 6th person Fort Worth police killed in a 5-month span of 2019.
But I'm here to let you know your city is hurting.
Frustrated and frightened community members filled council meetings.
No justice, no peace!
And filled streets.
This is after the kid.
Aaron Dean.
3 weeks after the shooting, police released Dean's job interview with Fort Worth PD.
I want to serve my fellow citizens in a very up close and personal way.
He's asked if he could kill.
Will you be able to kill somebody if you have to? No problem.
Say her name!
Through the summer of 2020, Jefferson's name was again shouted on Fort Worth streets.
No life matters until Black Lives Matter!
For protests over the murder of George Floyd.
Justice for Tatiana Jefferson!
You don't have anything to say at all?
No comment at this time.
Now we're 1 week away from the trial that's been 3 years in the making.
My father called this shooting senseless, and I certainly have not been able to make sense of why she had to lose her life.
1,143 days after James Smith was worried about his neighbor.
Most tragic thing in my life.
1,143 days.
There's no erasing that.
Since Tatiana Jefferson's family saw her for the last time. In Fort Worth, I'm William Joy.